The all-rookie team from 2024. Some pretty good names on this list right now on FFT Express. Well, Jamey, I think not to belittle you or anything, one of your easier assignments?
One of the most easiest stories I've ever had to write. Really, the only tough call was at the flex. So we did quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, tight end, and flex was really the only difficult decision.
Okay. All right. So 3 receivers. I guess I'm kind of curious. That had to be McConkey, right? Was number 3.
The 3 receivers would be Neighbors, Thomas, McConkey. Very easy.
All right. I'm going to take this time to see if I can guess who the flex was. But why don't you give me the quarterback whose name rhymes with Maiden Manuals?
Yeah, at one point in the middle of the season, Bo Nix was making a pretty good push when Daniels had his rib injury and wasn't ultra elite as he showed at times during the season because Nix was playing really good football. In a super flex all rookie team or a 2 QB all rookie team, Bo Nix is easily on the team. But unfortunately, he's one of 2 guys I think that you can make a case should be on the team. But obviously, Jaden Daniels was amazing. One of the best fantasy quarterbacks that we've seen from a rookie perspective, most rushing yards ever for a rookie quarterback, second in that category, which we love behind Lamar Jackson. So the way that he performed, we always talk about these guys. I'm sure we'll say the same things about Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders and, maybe Quinn Ewers, whoever the third quarterback may be. This is a guy worth taking a chance on. We knew Jaden Daniels had a chance to be special. He was one of my breakout candidates this year, and he more than delivered.
All right, the 2 running backs, maybe not so obvious, just like for people off the top of their head. Bucky Irving's going to be one of them, and the other one is
Tyrone Tracy. This was probably the most disappointing part of this class because you remember going in, we're like, okay, Jonathan Brooks has a chance to be special, and they took their time with him coming back from the injury, and then unfortunately suffered the ACL tear again. So he did not live up to any expectations. Trey Benson, we thought, okay, James Conner is going to miss time like he typically does, and Benson may work into the rotation. Well, that didn't really happen, and Conner was great all year. Blake Corum, maybe he'll cut into Kyron Williams' workload, and we'll see a little bit more from the Rams sharing. Well, Blake Corum barely played and didn't have any semblance of production this year. So Tracy thankfully gave us at least a second guy because Bucky Irving was a superstar, as we saw and as we've been talking about, borderline first-round pick going into 2025. Certainly going to be no worse than a second-round pick. And Tracy, I think, has got an opportunity to build off his rookie campaign. As we just discussed with the Malik Neighbors conversation, the Giants running backs appear to be set with Tracy and Singletary based on their contracts. And I don't think they need to go upgrading that. So, between those 2 guys, it was pretty lucky to have the performances that they gave you because they both finished as top 24 running backs. Irving was just amazing.
All right, wide receiver. We know it's going to be Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., and Ladd McConkey. Pretty good group there, that trio.
Amazing. And, we just, again, talked about the top 12 receivers for 2025. For most of our 6 people doing these rankings, they were all in the top 12, so Neighbors and Thomas are easy. I think Dave has Neighbors the highest at 4th, if I'm not mistaken. Top 8 for all of us, that did these rankings. So really excited to see what he does. Thomas will, maybe be a little bit of a more polarizing option just because of the receiving core getting healthy in Jacksonville and coordinator change, coaching change, all those things. His numbers were better with, which is just shocking to say, Mac Jones than Trevor Lawrence, but that was the case. But still, lots of love about those 2 guys. And McConkey, I know you had some concerns about his target volume and the passing offense that he's in, the environment that he's in, but I think unless they have a dramatic upgrade, let's say they go out and get T. Higgins or, make some sort of big splash, Chris Godwin, something like that. McConkey should continue to be the go-to guy. And it was, a lot changed with the Chargers, but for what Keenan Allen was to Justin Herbert, McConkey kind of slid into that role and was pretty successful.
All right, we'll come back, talk about Brock Bowers, try to figure out who that flex is going to be, and we'll just give the DST to the Rams since like half their guys are rookies. And we'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today Express. Okay, Brock Bowers, the easy call at tight end. And my question is, if you were voting for Offensive Rookie of the Year, not for fantasy, but just in general, would you vote for Jaden Daniels or Brock Bowers?
Probably Bowers, but I don't know if these are the only 2 choices. I mean, Bucky Irving was so good, given the expectations of where he was. Remember, he was a waiver wire guy at one point.
No, I'm talking about the NFL voting. Like, who's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Oh, it's Jaden Daniels.
I think it is too, but I think Brock Bowers just having basically a historic season. I I think he's got a really good case.
They both had historic seasons. Again, Daniels did something nobody else has done, rushing yards at the position. But led his team to the playoffs, led his team to playoff victory. I know you had to make you had to make that decision beforehand, but just an absolute stud, and really turned the franchise around.
Yeah,
ownership change was a big part of that, but nobody thought that the Commanders would be this good this quickly.
All right, so I've been racking my brain. Who is going to be that flex? I think it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr.
I think you're wrong.
Xavier Worthy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a little bit's recency bias. He was so good in the fantasy playoffs, and Marvin Harrison was not. And so that was the deciding factor for me, is that Worthy got, he was somebody that was building towards something and completed the job. Marvin Harrison, it was hard to put him on the all bust list and then put him on this team.
That's
because there was such a disappointing season. And listen, he's not disappointing as a player. I've seen this a few times, I think, on our social media. His rookie season numbers are almost identical to his father's.
Is that right?
Yes. Now one less game, but almost identical. So he's still got the potential to be an absolute stud. I don't think anybody that has him in dynasty or keeper league should be panicked that he's going to be a flop in his career. But the other three guys were just dramatically better. That was easy. And then like I said, I gave the nod to Xavier Worthy with what he did in the playoffs, because if you started him, you won some leagues. If you started Harrison, you probably were bounced out in the first round.
They averaged the exact same amount of fantasy points per game in full PPR, 11.7 each. You had 3 rushing touchdowns. You didn't have a single carry from Marvin Harrison Jr., whereas you had for Worthy 20 carries, 104 yards, and 3 touchdowns rushing. But that's interesting for it to come down to those two and for them to average the same amount of points per game. So there's really no case for Harrison. If he didn't even outscore Worthy on a per game basis in the full season and was bad in the playoffs. So,
and I'll tell you, there was another guy that I had in consideration, again, based on my criteria.
Oh, you're asking me to guess?
Yeah.
Jalen McMillan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was awesome down the stretch.
It was just hard because you didn't really have anything from him before the last 5 games.
All right. Thank you very much. That is Jamey Eisenberg's all rookie team. And Jamey wrote a lot of this stuff, all bust team and the first team, second team, third team, all fantasy. You can see it all, cbssports.com/fantasy. You can also see our mock drafts that we've done recently, rankings for 2025. We have some great content there. DFS help, cbssports.com/fantasy. For Jamey Eisenberg, I'm Adam Azer. Have a great weekend, everybody. And thanks a lot for watching and listening to FFT Express.